Welcome back, YouTube. It's your host, Rich GNT, and we're here to talk about what's going on in Chicago. So, I usually don't talk about other states like that, but I'm kind of moving into that a little bit more because a lot's going on in other states outside of my peripherals, I guess you could call it, right? And not just that, I'm also paying attention to what's going on in other countries as well because it's actually pretty fascinating. But to get back to home, specifically Chicago, Illinois, we're going to talk about what's going on with their budget because I saw a video where basically they were saying like their schools are not going to be properly funded, which is crazy. And then now I'm hearing talks about this budget shortfall that they're experiencing because Chicago is about to be in over $1 billion of debt right now. Well, not right now, but for next year, right? I think right now they're at 900 or something million, I believe. And yeah, they're just going down the toilet. Truly they are. And it's sad because I've been to Chicago besides some unsavory parts. I actually kind of like it over there. It's not that bad. The taxes suck. I was going to move there with an ex. And I saw what they were charging for property taxes. I was like, crazy. But for these next two videos, we're basically going to go over the budget shortfall that's going to befall the CTA, which is the Chicago Transit. And the Chicago Police Department is being asked to cut down on their budget. And if you know anything about Chicago, they need every bit of that budget because they already have a police shortage, and now more money about to be taken away, which may lead to more crime. So let's jump right into it.
Chicagoans who rely on public transit are certainly not happy to hear what is on the table to potentially overcome these budget shortfalls. CTA warns that if it does not receive necessary public funding, then 24-hour transit may be coming to an end. Changes could be coming to the public transit system around the Chicagoland area as the CTA, Metra, and PACE face a combined $771 million budget shortfall in 2026. They are warning of service cuts as high as 40% without new revenue coming from the state. Part of that may include limiting CTA bus and rail service lines operating only between 6 a.m. and 9 p.m.
I wonder how they're going to have that work because the transit system, I'm not too sure about the transit system in Chicago. I never took it. But if it's anything similar to like New York, and if they're a city where things are kind of active after 9 p.m., a lot of people are going to have to figure out what's going on. And it's crazy that their budget, or better yet, their mishandling of their budget, right, is gotten to such an extent that they're going to have to cut down on a service that's so vital to their economy. Because if people aren't able to go to work at certain times, right, that's money that's not coming into the state. That's, well, the city in this case. And that's less money that people are able to make. People are going to have to find some way to get around that. Also, we need to address the fact that Chicago, Brandon Johnson, and J.B. Pritzker, but he's the governor. We're not going to talk about him just yet. Brandon Johnson has been very resistant when it comes to getting help from the federal government. The help that he doesn't want, which is the National Guard coming in. So interesting to see because they're going to do what they always do and beg for more money. And that's clearly not helping considering their budget deficit.
We may have to significantly reduce frequency of service or the number of buses and trains coming each hour, which can cause crowding on our buses and trains and may even mean that some customers cannot board those services.
CTA leaders talked about the importance of that funding in Tuesday's town hall meeting, saying Chicagoans would feel the impact if they have to make cuts.
We estimate that the service cuts we may be forced to make will result in 9.1 million hours lost by Chicagoans waiting for less frequent bus and rail service.
That is not what CTA riders want to hear, as roughly 1 million people ride buses and trains each day.
It's really a tough detriment to the city, unfortunate, and yeah, hope they don't do it.
I commute to school, UIC, all the way from uptown, so I use it every day.
While lawmakers negotiate the budget shortfalls, CTA claims Illinois is already struggling with transportation funding compared to the rest of the country. Officials are also contemplating a 10-cent hike in fare prices for Metra, PACE, and CTA to compensate for the shortfall, something riders say would be quite frustrating.
There's always money to be found. Unfortunately, things are being prioritized over other needs, and that's something that probably needs to be reevaluated.
Now, State Senator Ron Villavam will be hosting a public transit town hall tomorrow at Thurman College. He sent us a statement this afternoon saying he's heard from thousands of constituents concerned about public transit, and he says he's committed to solving these problems. State lawmakers also return to session next month, and this will be on their agenda.
we as a people, and the Chicagoans in this case, have to pay attention to who they put into office, who they put into, I guess, who they put to represent them. Because Brandon Johnson ran on not increasing taxes. He's going to do that. He ran on making things more affordable for Chicagoans. That's not what's going to happen. Actually, Chicagoans are going to end up losing more money if they do make these cuts to the CTA, excuse me. So it's very interesting to see how people are going to deal with this in the next election cycle. And his term is not up for, like, I think, you know how hard it is to be worse and hemorrhaging more money than the MTA over in New York. And the MTA just, like, they bleed money. Like, they get it in their hand and just poof, disappears. They don't know where it goes. That's pretty impressive.
As the city council heads into budget season, department heads are facing tough questions about their spending. The police department has been asked to come up with $92 million in cuts, something the superintendent says would have an impact. Police Superintendent Larry Snelling taking his turn in the budget hot seat today, telling city council members that the department is well aware of the current budget crisis, and he realizes CPD will have to do its part, but he has concerns.
I want to be very careful and cautious about where we cut and what we do so that it doesn't affect the progress that we're making right now and the safety of the city.
Before the hearing, advocates gathered outside demanding that money allocated for unfilled police positions be reallocated for public health and community care.
So we have a system that is broken and we need to fix it. And the only place where we can find the money to fix it right now is in the police department.
There were concerns about
what she's saying could be true, that's the only money they could find and that's the only wiggle room they could find within their budget. But I don't think you truly understand. You guys already have a police shortage up there in Chicago. Chicago's crime is not light. It's serious over there. They call it Chirac, for Pete's sake. I don't think taking more money away from the people that you need to protect you, no matter how you may feel about them, is the smartest thing to do. Look, I don't know what to say. I truly don't. A lot of people have this idea of defund the police, but then, God forbid, something comes knocking at their door that they're not ready to handle. Who are they gonna call? Not Ghostbusters. That was corny. I'm sorry. But yeah, so I truly don't know how this is gonna look. And I remember I was talking about, like, when I talked about Oakland and Shane Tao, like, a few months back, I remember saying that I believe Oakland would probably go into bankruptcy. But to be fair, I feel like Chicago might be closer.
police overtime as well.
I think when you've got a $1.5 billion deficit, you've got to look at every department. And so what I've called for isn't necessarily cutting, but auditing at the very least, right? Are we spending the money as effectively as possible?
The police department has already racked up $28 million more than the $100 million it's budgeted for overtime due to a multitude of major events. The superintendent saying organizers like NASCAR, which had its own inside security, helped defray police overtime, suggesting other event hosts might need to do the same. Snelling said he is concerned.
The reason why there's a whole lot of overtime going on with the police, because they have a police shortage, and because they have a police shortage, guess what? People have to pick up the slack. More police officers have to fill in for those that are not there. They're not getting a number, so more people are putting in for overtime because they have to do a job. They have to protect the people. That's why that's going on. It's not like people are just going like, yeah, we're just gonna put up all this overtime and we have an excess amount of police officers. That's not what's happening. You know, people have to look and kind of pay attention and go, oh, that's what's going on. Also, too, he talked about auditing like everything, right? You're talking about auditing the police officers when they already have a shortage. Cool, I'm gonna keep repeating it. Audit all facets of y'all guys' government, because the money is going somewhere and is being used haphazardly. You know what? Why is it that the public officials don't take a pay cut? Why is that? You're public service, right?
Concerned that meeting the suggested $92 million in cuts could hurt public safety, with the department already short nearly 1,000 officers.
We still have a lot of work to do. We're going in the right direction. It's going to take some time. And we just have to make sure that our department is properly staffed to get that done.
And while Snelling usually tries to dodge anything political, he did weigh in on the possible deployment of the National Guard to Chicago.
If the National Guard were to come here, if they were to come here, I'd find a way to work with them, because what I would want is for all of the residents in the city of Chicago to have peace of mind that the streets are not being overrun or occupied, or, you know, with an occupying force.
He started to sound like that mayor over in Memphis, right? Where he was basically like I'd be open to it, but I just want to make sure they're doing the right job. Crazy you say that, because your streets are overrun by gangs, And this is reported by the gangs because they openly said that the National Guard comes there. They got gangs ready for them. I find that funny. You're worried about an occupying force, you know, the National Guard. But then you have gangs rampant and everything like that. You already have one on your streets. You already do. I know he's trying to be, I guess, apolitical in this case and stay away from that, which doesn't really make sense because you're kind of influenced and inflicted whatever goes on within your, you know, city government. So being apolitical is kind of stupid. But you guys need help, right? And to be fair, if I was the president, what I would do, I wouldn't help your asses because your governor and your mayor have made it very difficult to try to help you guys in restoring some type of order and make it safe for the people that are there. So we could sit up here all day and talk about, you know, you want to make sure there isn't an occupying force and everything like that. You had the chance. The people that represent you guys, your mayor and governor, spit in his face while also asking for more money because apparently, you know, giving more money to a group that has shown that they're unable to balance a budget makes sense. That's like I have a loan out, right? And I go not into bankruptcy, but I basically say, hey, look, I can't afford to pay it, but I need more money. No bank is going to give me money because I show that I'm unreliable. I show that I'm not responsible, that I'm unable to deal with that amount of money that they're giving me. It's the same thing with the city of Chicago. Why would the federal government give you more money when you're shown to be irresponsible with it? I wouldn't do a thing. Because apparently crime is down. In the words of Brandon Johnson, it's down. Well, that's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, leave a like. Tell me how you feel down in the comments down below. Do you feel like Chicago is on its way to, you know, bankruptcy? Like, do you feel like this city is just, there's no way to course correct? They're just going to try to keep finding cuts, and it's just not going to work out until they find themselves backed into a corner. You know, that's what I think is going to happen. But let me know what your thoughts are. You know, we can discuss it down in the comments down below. And subscribe if you want to see more. Peace.